Howdy. This is the Views from the Shop podcast. I'm your host, your one and only host, Tim Miller. And today it is Thursday, November 20th, 2025. And I wish you a very, very, very happy National Payback Your Parents' Day. Today's show is an emergency episode where we discuss a new Buckeye. The Ohio State University men's basketball program picks up a new commitment today. We will discuss everything about the player, about his fit at Ohio State, kind of the background and story and things like that. And also, what does this mean for Ohio State moving forward? What is the impact for Jake Diebler and company there in Columbus for Ohio State? Before we get into it, generally on shows like these, we get a lot of new listeners and viewers. So if you're not familiar with the Views from the Shop podcast, it is the #1 Ohio State basketball podcast that is exclusive to Ohio State basketball. We cover every single game, preview and recap every single game Ohio State has, and we have at least one show per week in the offseason as well. During the offseason, we do a special guest series where we have folks like head coach Jake Diebler and several others come on and join the show and talk to you, Buckeye Nation, about a whole host of different things as well. So if that doesn't sound like a bad idea to put in your ears or your eyes, then I encourage you to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, subscribe on YouTube as well, and like the video on YouTube too. That would be great. We do this every single day of the week, of the month, of the year, essentially. There's never a day where I'm not working on this and producing some kind of content for you at some point. So encourage you to be here. But I'm not here to plug the show. I'm here to plug LJ Smith. LJ Smith commits to Ohio State today on Thursday. He's a 2027 combo guard, shooting guard from Oak Hill down there in Virginia. So we'll talk about the player here today. LJ Smith, composite 4-star in the class of 2027, and he's a top 5 shooting guard, combo guard, depending on how you define it. Regardless, he's one of the top 5 2 guards in the nation in 2027, and he is going to be an Ohio State Buckeye. He's ranked as the #1 shooting guard by ESPN and also a top 10 player overall by ESPN and a 5-star. So on some platforms, he's a 5-star. In other platforms, and most platforms, he's a 4-star, regardless of where you look. This is one of the top players in the class of 2027, and he will be an Ohio State Buckeye. He's the #1 player in Virginia, like I said, currently playing at Oak Hill, where Rajon Rondo, Ty Lawson, several other players, and of course, Carmelo Anthony famously played there at Oak Hill. So a great lineage, a whole lot of talent has come out of Oak Hill over the past couple of decades. LJ Smith on track to be one of the next greats out of Oak Hill. He commits to Ohio State after having offers from Kansas, North Carolina, Indiana, several other blue bloods. He recently took unofficial visits to Ohio State, of course, as well as Tennessee and Georgia, but he ends up committing to Ohio State. Now, who is LJ Smith as a player, you may be wondering, and I'm happy to share that with you. I would call him a scoring guard. You can call him a combo guard, a shooting guard. I don't think it matters. The best way to define him is probably as a scoring guard. Now, I say that, and you may say, is he bad defensively? And I say, I will get to that, but no. So he's got a real shot. He can shoot the ball. He can light it up from deep. That is definitely evident in his game. He has potential to be the most prominent scorer on the team when he arrives to campus at Ohio State as well. He's got exceptional length that allows him to knife and cut to the rim and be able to score there at the bucket, scoring. The major difference that you would see from a player like him at 6'4", the fact that he's 16 years old, he might be able to pick up a couple inches as well. But the big thing is that this is a player who can turn into a two-way player for Ohio State. He scored 33 points per game, according to Max Preps, at Oak Hill as a sophomore. But you look at his complete profile as a player, and I think that's where he shines. This is a true two-way player for Ohio State. The overall size, it's going to allow him to be a problem defensively. He's already a problem defensively, averaging 2.6 steals per game and a block per game there at Oak Hill as a sophomore, according to Max Preps. I would assume the staff would also say that they like his motor and his ability to run hot there defensively. And he's an exceptional rebounder as well, given his position. So the overall rebounding production and his ability to get up and gobble up loose balls and boards and different things like that. That's something that will really help him at the college level as well. So that's overall LJ Smith as a player. He's a big time pickup for Ohio State. He's ranked very, very highly. Not that the coaching staff cares about stars or cares about where guys are ranked. They scout these guys in their own way, just like every coaching staff in America does. So that part, we don't know where they necessarily would rate or rank LJ Smith, but obviously he was a take. He was a take early on. Ohio State got in and offered pretty quickly on LJ Smith, and the rest was history. So let's talk about the background here with LJ Smith. So this is a player that I initially spoke to in September of this year. Sometimes you just have guys who are super open about where they're at, and they're very, very willing to talk. And my question, whenever I have situations like that, is it, well, you're just super open and you're excited about your recruitment or whatever the case may be, or Ohio State is definitely a top contender? And I think I learned pretty quickly early on that Ohio State was definitely a top contender with LJ Smith. Generally, you kind of got to read it. And I wish I could remember what he said in terms of other top programs that were after him. As a smart man, I have my text messages delete after 30 days. So they're gone into the abyss forever. And I didn't write it down anywhere else. So that's my fault on that. But in general, it can be easy, hard sometimes to read where you're at. I think my assumption with LJ Smith was Ohio State is very much in on him. LJ Smith is very much excited about Ohio State, and this player could end up as a Buckeye. There's a couple other players like that in the class of 2027, I will add. There's also one player in particular that I can think of that he's either 27 or 28, where I'm like, I don't think he's going to be a Buckeye, but I could be wrong. But based on the feedback he gave, I thought Ohio State was one of the strongest contenders there, and it ends up being it. So how do we get here? Well, Ohio State had been working for several weeks on a replacement for Marcus Johnson in the class of 2026. I went all in on the details of kind of that situation when it happened. So I'm not going to rehash all of that right now. But Smith is a class of 2027 player, right? He's committed from the class of 2027. However, there were rumors that he's definitely moving into the class of 2026 and that Ohio State's not done in the class of 2026. I'm not saying that that's inaccurate, but it's definitely not accurate at this point. There's no plan in the short term for LJ Smith to absolutely with certainty reclassify into 2026. Now, if we get new info on that, I'm certainly happy to share that with you. But right now, I'm told from someone near the program that that's not the plan, is to move him directly into 2026, but it is possible. He's physically mature enough. Like I said, standing at 6'4", I believe he lists himself at 6'5" on his Twitter. So maybe he's 6'5" now. I don't know, but he's physically mature and he's got the gifts. He's definitely gifted. And I don't think Ohio State or any of us would be unhappy if he ended up on campus coming up this summer. But right now, the plan is for him to come into the class of 2027 and be the first commitment here in this class of 2027 for Ohio State. I dropped a lot of notes and hints and all those types of things behind the scenes on the Substack chat, which is linked in the description here on YouTube, on Spotify and Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. It's linked there, so you can go there. If you want a free trial, just let me know. I'm happy to do that for you. But dropped a lot in kind of the behind the scenes of what's going on over the past week or so, once there were rumors out there about Ohio State having a commitment. But again, all that said, he's not a one-for-one replacement for Marcus Johnson. They don't play the same position. They don't really play the same way. And LJ Smith, while he may be a 2026 player right now, he's still a 2027 player. So even in that way, he can't be a one-for-one replacement. But the biggest thing I want to talk about here is the impact for Ohio State moving forward. So Jake Diebler, he now has a composite five-star player in the class of 2026 with Anthony Thompson. He's not just a composite five-star. He is a high-end, high-level player coming in to Ohio State. You've now got a five-star on ESPN and four-star composite top overall player in the class of 2027. You've got two big-time recruiting wins for Ohio State in consecutive classes. It's also another seven-figure player. So I know a lot of people, we just talk to talk on social media, which is fine, but it leads to misinformation and rumors being spread and people just thinking it's true and it's not. Ohio State could have afforded Marcus Johnson if they really wanted him. There's no doubt about that. And there's also no coincidence that Ohio State officially got LJ Smith in the fold last Tuesday, and then Marcus Johnson committed to South Carolina the very next day. That's not a coincidence either. But this is another seven-figure player for Ohio State where the foundation's coming in and helping out here and getting things organized and finding the resources for Ohio State to pick up another top player. And you now have the number one player in the state of Ohio in the class of 2026, who's a five-star. He received several high money offers from other, not just top programs, but blue blood programs. And he's going to be the fourth best player in Ohio State history in terms of the recruiting metrics, according to 247 Sports, where he's rated right now. He's the number 4 player in the fold for Ohio State in the program's history. The very next year, you're picking up a player in the subsequent class that's rated higher than D'Angelo Russell was as a freshman coming into Ohio State. Look, all this means is that we're running out of time for you to find a seat on the bandwagon for Ohio State basketball. And I will give the caveat that, yes, you got to be able to put it together on the floor. Ohio State will play Western Michigan tonight. Christoph Tilley is going to have to hit some threes. Brandon Knowles is going to have to play with a little bit more consistency and continue to rebound. Bruce Thornton is going to have to keep being an All-American player. John Mobley Jr. is going to have to find ways to score inside the three-point line. Devin Royal, can he stay healthy? You look at the bench. What are you going to get from Tayson Chapman this year? Can Gabe Cupps give you anything offensively, or is he just a defensive stopper? You have all these questions about what the team is going to be this year, but right now, you sit at 4-0. You're most likely going into Black Friday at 6-0. And that, by the way, gives you the opportunity to beat Pitt on Black Friday, and then the football team finally get a win in the game on the Saturday. That could be a fantastic weekend for Ohio State athletics in general. Sorry if I'm not mentioning like an ice hockey team or rowing or shooting or something like that, but this is a basketball only podcast here, so we cover basketball, and of course we know about the football program. But all that said, the momentum is really starting to build here. This could be your classic snowball effect where you start the snowball small, but it starts to pick up steam. It starts to pick up speed, and it starts to pick up overall size. And that snowball turns into an avalanche at some point. Again, the caveat is Jake Diebler and this coaching staff, they need to put it together on the floor, which so far I can't complain about being 4-0. Has it been perfect? No, but you're 4-0 with a win over a Power 5 team. So I think we can all be happy about that. Regardless, there is momentum being picked up. And I said this even, I think last year, maybe the year before, that when I had the opportunity to talk to recruits, it was much more few and far between than it is now. But when I had that opportunity, it was clear the hire of Jake Diebler and the momentum that he was building in the program, even at that point, it was being noted by top recruits. Even if Ohio State wasn't getting those guys, they lose out on Darren Peterson last year. This year, they do get Anthony Thompson. And now in 2027, they've got a commitment from another top player. So the momentum is there. It's building. And as long as Ohio State can put it together on the court, it's very, very clear that the foundation is going to step up off the court and continue to help Ohio State not just lock down top talent like Bruce Thornton, Devin Royal, and John Mobley Jr., but also pick up top talent from the high school realm. That's a huge, huge addition for Ohio State and LJ Smith. You pair that with Anthony Thompson. You pair that with Alex Smith, a top player from Ohio who's going to play his last year down in Florida. But I'm telling you what, folks, I don't think I've been this optimistic about the program since I started the show. Granted, Ohio State hasn't made an NCAA tournament since I started the show, but the point still stands. I'm very optimistic about where this program is right now. This addition of LJ Smith is a big deal for Ohio State. Even if he's not a composite 5-star, I don't care. Ohio State really likes him. LJ Smith loves Ohio State, and this could be a fantastic match for two parties, a great mutual fit. And LJ Smith could be a part of Ohio State making a Sweet 16, making a Final Four run. We'll see where all that goes. I know it's a long ways away and it's hard to project that far out, but this is a big deal for Ohio State. And you, as fans, should probably be pretty happy about this. I'm sure there will be detractors out there. It's just easier to be a detractor. It's easier to hate on a program than it is to be happy because, in general, you're going to be right. I mean, how many teams make it to the Final Four? Four, actually. 4 teams making the Final Four every year. If that's your ultimate goal, if your ultimate goal is to win the national championship, then literally every fan base but one is going to be unhappy. So it's a lot easier to hate on a program than it is to say, I'm all in and we're going to be happy and excited. Whatever the case may be, I would be optimistic. This is another piece of the puzzle. This is another stepping stone. And Jake Diebler, when he took over the program, he didn't really have a lot of time. He takes over the program and immediately you got to go into the portal. You kind of got to build the plane as you fly it, as some would say. And now at this point, we're picking up some steam. We're not at a cruising altitude yet, but we're getting there. We're getting there. And again, this is another piece. I'm not saying you're there yet, but if you keep stacking these moves, before long, you're going to be exactly where you want to be. So the Buckeyes pick up a big time commitment today. If you're watching or listening on Thursday, Ohio State will take on Western Michigan tonight, where they look to go 5-0. I already released a preview show on that game. You can find that wherever you're podcasting, on YouTube as well. And then we'll recap the game on Friday as well. So be ready for that show. We will preview Ohio State's game against Mount St. Mary's, recap that, preview Pitt, recap that, and then we get into Big Ten play and so on and so forth. You know how this goes. So again, I encourage you, if you like this type of content, please do subscribe. Please like the video on YouTube as well. Tell your friends about the show. Word of mouth goes a long way. You wouldn't realize it, but it does. Word of mouth goes a long way. Excited, super, super excited for Ohio State to pick up LJ Smith here. It's a big time edition. Thanks for watching or listening to today's show. Until next time, I shut up before you shut me off. Go Bucks.